Hello students, this is Triparna Chattopadhyay. Hope you are all well and safe at home. I was teaching you Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre and in my previous classes I had discussed in details with you about the setting of the novel, the background of the novel, the background of the author as well, the biography of the author actually, and the storyline in details. Many of you were present in my classes and they attended them sincerely. We discussed the storyline in details in 3 or 4 classes, I guess, and who were absent, they can take the handouts from your friends. You can collect them and read them, and you can get the idea about the novel, the storyline of the novel. And I have also provided the Norton version of the whole novel, the unabridged version of the novel, on your college LMS. You can go and find out, download the book, and please read it to get the full essence of the novel. Now I would like to focus on the main themes of the novel. I will discuss them one by one in separate videos so that you can easily go through a single video and write a full answer depending on my video lectures. And I have also uploaded numerous reference books on the LMS, which I guess you have already downloaded and read them. Today in this lecture, I would like to focus on Jane Eyre as a Gothic novel, which is one of the most important topics which we need to discuss and prepare a long answer from it. Now, naturally, the first thing that comes into our mind is obviously what is a Gothic novel. Gothic literature can be defined as writing that employs dark and picturesque scenery, startling and melodramatic narrative devices, and an overall atmosphere of fear, exoticism, mystery, horror, and dread. Also, the Gothic writers tend to use supernatural elements and touches of romance in their writings. Now, automatically, the next question will be, is Jane Eyre at all a Gothic novel or not? There are many Gothic elements in Jane Eyre, like supernatural occurrences, visions, and an overall mood of mystery and fright. Jane Eyre took place in the Victorian age, as we know, when Gothic fiction was very prominent to other literary genres. Also, previous books in Gothic fiction that we have read, like Frankenstein or The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, they were classified as Gothic literature as well. So, Jane Eyre is not an exception, it is just following the trend. Now, we need to understand how Charlotte Bronte's life was Gothic, and that was vividly reflected on her work as well. Charlotte Bronte's mother died at an early age, we all know, and she was raised by her cruel aunt, and that is directly related to how Jane Eyre grew up with Aunt Reed. Her experiences in the Gateshead Hall was really Gothic and horrific. The imagery in Jane Eyre shows Charlotte's view on her life. How? The Gothic way in which she describes Lowood adds on to this, because 2 of her sisters, Maria and Elizabeth, they died at Lowood. I discussed it previously in that class when I was discussing about the autobiographical elements of Charlotte Bronte's life reflected on the novel. The setting of the novel is also Gothic, because all the different settings, all the different incidents that took place in various places in Jane's life Jane described them, each of the incidents, in a consistent Gothic tone. As example, the Red Room incident in the Gateshead Hall, the Barthamason case in the Thornfield Hall, and mystery surrounds the plot. What is so mysterious about Thornfield Hall? Rochester previously had a wife that neither Jane nor the reader was informed previously. And the Thornfield Hall is itself a Gothic place because it's a castle, and many confirmed Gothic novels have a story taking place in a castle or a mansion with long corridors and 3 or 4 stories and big hall rooms with long stairs. If we talk about the Gothic examples that are present in our text, we can easily quote from the incidents that took place at the Thornfield Hall. And one of them is, I'm reading the quote. "While I placed softly on the last sound I expected to hear in so still a region, a laugh struck my ears. It was a curious laugh, distinct, formal, mirthless. I stopped. The sound ceased only for an instant. It began again, louder, for at first, though very distinct, it was very low." This scene takes place at Thornfield and is the first time Jane hears this mysterious laugh when she was unaware about the presence of Barthamason in the Thornfield Hall. This event reflects the atmosphere of mystery and suspense and horror that a Gothic novel consists of. And Mrs. Fairfax tells Jane that she thinks it is just graceful, but this contributes to the growing uncertainty of what goes on in the house. And we all know Mr. Rochester and Mrs. Fairfax deliberately tried to hide the presence of Barthamason, and they keep telling Jane that this is graceful behind all these mysterious and suspicious actions. Another example which will be very suitable to support Jane Eyre as a Gothic novel is from the Gateshead Hall. I'm reading the quote again. "I thought the swift darting beam was a herald of some coming vision from another world. My heart beat thick, my head grew hot. A sound filled my ears, which I deemed the rushing of wings, someone near me." And this scene took place at Gateshead Hall in the Red Room when Jane was punished and locked. This is the first example of Jane's encounters with the supernatural events, or rather her mysterious visions that took place in a Gothic novel. While she is in the Red Room, she believes that Mr. Reed's spirit, and who is Mr. Reed? Jane's uncle who died at that very room. And his spirit has come back from the dead to haunt Jane. And Jane is haunted by this experience throughout the rest of her life. So we can easily guess that this incident, it left a permanent mark, a permanent stamp on Jane's mind, which continued throughout her life and kept haunting her in various other forms, in visions, in the mysteries in Lowood School, in the mysterious events in Thornfield Hall as well. Not only the setting or the incidents, Jane Eyre can also be easily classified as a Gothic novel if we consider the main themes of the novel. Which are they? The first one will be psychological distress. Throughout the novel, Jane is steadily evolving. However, this is a rocky process in which she constantly sees herself in an inner battle. And these inner psychological traumas, battles, the adverse situation outside, the absence of father, mother, and family and social security, all this contributed to the happenings in Jane's mind, which is reflected outwardly as the elements of Gothic presence in her life. The second one must be the discussion about religion. Although religion is portrayed positively in the novel, skepticism of such is present. Religion is constantly used as guidance for the character's actions. And the most important theme in Jane Eyre, or rather in the development of the character Jane Eyre, must be the isolation theme, which is really Gothic. Since Jane lived in Gateshead Hall, she felt terribly alone and unloved by the rest of her family members. She was always in search of love, in search of family security, and she struggles to find love throughout the end of the novel, which was her only goal. She wanted to be an independent woman, that is completely true, but she searched for a family bonding as well, love as well. As I suggested you to watch the movie Jane Eyre, it will be easy to imagine or to look into the book from a different point of view if you watch the movie. And from the movie and as well in the descriptions of the novel, you can see the weather in Jane Eyre is a constant indication of Jane's state of mind. From the very beginning in Gateshead, Jane describes the winter setting as somber and a rain so penetrating. Likewise, Jane feels sad and angsty due to Aunt Reed and the abuse she faces in the house, the atrocities she faces in the house. And as you have already read in Macbeth, I guess, the atmosphere or the weather outside terribly reflects the state of mind of the characters, of the situation. At Thornfield, Jane helps Rochester with two mysterious occurrences. The first of these is when Jane puts out a fire in Rochester's room after hearing a loud sound and strange laughter. When he realizes what happened, he says that someone must have intentionally set the fire and that he knows who, but will not tell Jane. Because Jane and the reader do not know who is committing these violent acts or why they are. These mysterious events contribute to the Gothic theme of the novel. So, as a whole, the setting of Jane Eyre, the unsettling events of Jane's past, and the cast of characters, the cast of atmosphere, all contribute to classify the novel as a Gothic one. I hope you have found this video really useful, and please write an answer on this topic. Send me and I will check it. Thank you.